Hello and welcome to the Corrupted Save podcast. I am your host, Animich. I am joined today by Steve.
Sup, everybody?
And Benny.
I'm back, somehow.
We got a short crew because it will take less time. Let's run into a few things before we get started. Big thanks to everyone who's supporting us on Patreon. You guys are awesome. I'll try and get one of you people who donated enough money for the tier to get on the podcast, and I'll message you about that next time. Also, I noticed there's another podcast on SoundCloud called the Corrupted Save Podcast. I should have checked that, but it's fine. They only did one episode and then they stopped, so that's good. We're the new de facto Corrupted Save Podcast.
Sweet.
So this is episode 3, EP3, E3. Oh my god, it's like I planned it. E3 happened, guys. So let's run through the conferences one by one.
It did. If for some reason we sound kind of out of it, it's because it's been kind of a crazy week here.
We'll just go, and we'll just cut through, and we'll see if anyone has anything they want to say about the conferences. So, we'll start, as with most things, at the beginning. EA did a podcast, did a conference, rather.
Wow, they did a podcast.
They did a podcast. The only thing I can remember them showing was Star Wars, because they didn't have anything else, so they showed it for 30 minutes.
That's pretty much it. If you're a Battlefield guy, you know, maybe that some of the new maps and night mode might interest you, but other than that, I can't think of anything.
They took a lot of the criticism on board with their awful attempt the first time around, so maybe this will be okay. They're releasing all the DLC for free, so you know, that's stage one of the crazy world we live in these days.
I saw a lot of people bitching that they don't respect the timeline because all the different heroes are here and there, and it's like, listen, folks, you can have this one of two ways. You can either have all the heroes in there and not worry about the timeline, or you can have accuracy and less heroes. You got to pick one. You can't have both.
I need accuracy in my Star Wars games, thank you very much.
I know, right?
That's why Rogue Squadron with the flying car, I didn't appreciate that.
As long as I can play as Jar Jar, I'm good.
No.
Yeah.
Jar Jar the Sith Lord, or Jar Jar the...
Yeah, the Sith Lord Jar Jar, of course.
God.
Misa going to cut you. Yeah, they showed a lot of football or soccer that nobody in the U.S. really cared about.
No. Madden story mode.
Oh, yeah.
There'll be social links, and every Arcana will be the Strength Arcana. So it'll be pretty bare bones.
I know, right?
That was EA. That was a great kickoff for the show. Which one was next? It was Microsoft next, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
They showed off the Xbox One X, Xbox One X, Xbox One.
Oh, Lord.
It's a new console. It's called the Xbox One X, even though it has multiple X's in the name.
That's not even its final form.
That name, I'm really confused by that name. I'm sorry.
What would you call it?
I mean, I kind of get on one hand, it's like, okay, it's supposed to be like the improved edition of the Xbox One, but just the Xbox One X, really, you couldn't think of anything a little more creative? I mean, I guess, but...
Well, the reason they did that is now the acronym is actually Xbox again.
Is that why they did it?
Yeah, and it's actually Xbox
Stop
again.
Stop people calling it the X-Bone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember, I think it was an Ubisoft dev. They were showing off Assassin's Creed, and they flubbed the line, and he called it an X-Bone.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's why they did it. Now it's an Xbox again. But I think Nintendo, the people at Nintendo are happy now because the Wii U's not the worst name that's ever been come up with for a console. So, congratulations, Microsoft. You have dethroned Nintendo as making the worst marketing name ever for a console.
But you have the most powerful console.
That's true.
That is true.
They showed off it with Forza, the car game.
Which has 100 gig download.
What?
Yeah.
Yes. 100 gigs.
100 gigs before tax.
So,
oh my god.
So not only is, not only are you waiting to download 100 gigs to play a racing game, but your bandwidth cap is being raped by Microsoft. So thanks.
I got nothing. That's insane.
A lot of the stuff
insane.
Microsoft was confusing because they kept saying Windows and they keep saying Xbox One exclusive, but the game they showed weren't exclusive.
No.
So it was a mess of a conference, really. I
don't
know what was what.
most of the games that they kept saying were exclusive were timed exclusives. I think they had like 4 or 5 games that were actually exclusive to Windows 10 and their console, if you want to call that exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
I don't either, because everybody has Windows 10. So, which brings me to the point of they've released a $500 console, and $500 is the death price mark for any console that's ever been released historically. They've released a $500 console with no exclusives. I don't understand why people would buy this thing.
Because it has Xbox One. It has one first Xbox backwards compatibility.
Well, couldn't you just buy the $200 OG modeling? Had that? I mean,
well, it will upscale them to 4K looking.
Oh,
so.
You gotta have your Brinks in 4K. Or Blinks, whatever.
Blink's the time cat.
Yeah, that's it. Blinks.
Brink. Only games that I was interested during the Microsoft conference was Metro, because I'm a big Metro fan. But that's not exclusive, so I guess it doesn't matter that I saw it there. And it's apparently open world, which was... I hate open world games. I'm so sick and tired of them.
I understand why a lot of developers are jumping onto it, and some of them have some really good ideas, but for me, the problem I have with open world games is they are so massive, they become intimidating to kind of complete, and when you have everyone releasing open world games, no one has time to get through them all.
The problem I have with open world games is that they're lazy. They're not lazy for the devs because it's really expensive to make a big open world, but it doesn't pay off. Because then you just have a big open field, and it probably took a long time making all the blades of grass in that big open field, but I'm just gonna walk by every single one of them. Oh yeah, no, wait, going back to Metro. This was the year of the bear, it seemed. Like, almost every game. Pirates and bears were the big thing this year. Like, every game had a bear or a pirate in it.
I know, right?
Which I noticed. But speaking of pirates, the pirate game might come out eventually. They've been showing it off for like 2 years now, but it seems like it's finally almost done.
It looks pretty cool. I might check it out on PC.
Yeah, that's that's the caveat with everything at the Microsoft conference. If anything looks good, you'll just say, "Oh, I'll play it on PC."
I see they showed off Cuphead again. How long has Cuphead been coming? Like 3 years now?
It's finally coming out September 29th.
So, and a lot of people have been really excited for Cuphead. I know Quentin last year at E3, he was like, not this past E3, but the one before, he was like really excited for it. He loved it.
They changed it from, it used to be a boss rush, but now it's got more, what's the word I'm thinking of? More traditional levels.
Platformer kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why it took so long to get it. But it looks so tasty. I can't wait to play that. It looks amazing. Who was after... Bethesda was after that, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Bethesda.
Bethesda.
We'll save that last. But, what... Jesus Christ. It was a mess.
That was if you look up clusterfuck in the dictionary, that is it right there.
But the games that let's go to the good. The games I liked at the Bethesda conference were Evil Within 2.
Looks badass.
I wasn't really a fan of the first Evil Within, but that was mostly because of the technical issues. It had a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
And it looks not like many of them paid off.
It looks like they definitely improved their design this time around, just looking at it this way. But, you'll have to get a full game before you'll really get a sense of if they actually fixed it or not.
Yeah, and also, the original Evil Within had these... It was letterboxed. It was horrible.
I liked Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein, that's it. Thank you.
Looks great. Looks great. I'm really excited to play Wolfenstein. But I've always been a Wolfenstein fan.
I haven't played the other two, but this will make me go back. They're usually pretty cheap, so I'll go back and play Wolfenstein, New Blood, and The Old Order.
Yeah, but they're on the USPS, and they're $10 a piece right now for E3 sale. So
I'll get those.
But that's really all they had, because everything else was like, oh, we have VR Fallout, oh, we have VR Skyrim,
and those games aren't just updates to the original games; they're full-priced retail games that you have to buy again.
Yeah, and on top of that, they have Skyrim coming to the Switch, which is cool. Portable Skyrim. I guess if that's your thing, that's all right. But there's more. They have amiibo support, so if you want that Zelda sword, whore out that $12 for that Link amiibo, and bam, you got it.
You should already own the Link amiibo.
Yeah.
Come on.
No,
Actually, you
I
should
own the
own
Zelda
two,
one.
because you need one in the box. I think that's everything Bethesda had that I can remember. So we'll talk about the big caveat that Steve is just itching to dig into.
Oh, this is great. The Creation Club. We're going to have the Creation Club where, you know, you're going to use credits to buy mods. Not money, but credits. Because if we come out and say we had paid mods, you know, people would be pissed. But if we market it like this, maybe they won't notice.
Steve, how do I get credits?
With money. Ain't that amazing? Shit, that's amazing. I mean, come on, Bethesda, really? And then you come out and you say, well, they're not really paid mods. They're more like we're outsourcing our DLC to people. Because people took well to it when you tried to sell them fucking horse armor, you know, back in the day. God,
I remember that.
I mean, seriously, come on.
No, even if this plan doesn't work, they're going to keep trying. There's
They
too
are.
much money in it. And
They're
eventually, people will just give up. People
Yeah.
can't get outraged over and over again at the same thing.
So, but Bethesda was Sunday night, right?
Yeah, Dover Digital did that thing after that.
Oh, yeah.
I
want to talk about that. That was awful. That was the
No.
low point.
No, that was the greatest thing
No!
ever.
I hate you! I hate anyone who says, oh, it was so good because it was so funny. Go back to Adult Swim. I'm sure they'll love your company. I hated that company. They showed 2 games and they were both awful.
Hey, that was the point, though. It was supposed to be bad.
I don't know. That's not right. That's like saying, oh, EA made the first Battlefront awful, so the sequel would be even better.
Right. See,
No.
See, next year when they do their conference, they'll have to top that, and I can't wait to see Dover Digital top that. Thanks, Devolver. You done God's work.
I like your games, Devolver.
We do. We love you.
All right, then I think that brings us to Monday, then, which was Ubisoft first on that list?
Yes, Ubisoft would be first.
Okay.
And
Oh, they opened with Rabbids X Mario XCOM.
that's true, they did.
That's it. I wish that it wasn't leaked, because I probably would have been more confused if I saw it for the first time. But once the gameplay started, that's when it all went full circle.
It's XCOM with Mario and Rabbids.
It's Mario with a gun shooting Overwatch at Rabbids.
Yeah,
I'm gonna buy it. I don't own a Switch, but I'm sure that'll be one game that I buy. Because I like XCOM, but a lot of it has a lot of fat. So I'm sure this will trim the fat a lot.
I've never played XCOM, sadly. It's just, I was never a big PC gaming guy, so that was before my time when I started getting into Steam, whatnot, etc. I mean, it looks interesting
The
in the
original or
ass.
like the new?
You'd like the reboot.
I haven't played any of them.
Okay.
Like, I'm literally, let's put it this way, my PC exists for one reason, that's to review visual novels on a Eroge. I've only recently started getting into having a couple of other games because I actually have a PC that can run them now. I just recently rebuilt this thing. It was like 8 years old before then. But I mean, it looks, the idea of it just combining Rabbids and Mario sounds kind of interesting. Quentin got to apparently play it, so he'll be doing a hands-on with it eventually, probably in the next week or so. The only thing I kind of rolled my eyes at when I was seeing the one of the trailers was they had this one scene where Peach apparently like grabs a gun, shoots, and she kind of looks at it like, oh my, that was interesting. And I'm just looking, Hana from Girls and Panzer did it first, you jackass.
She's a strong, independent woman now.
Yeah.
If only she had that gun when
Bowser
Bowser kidnaps her in Odyssey.
They should have went with the space. They should have went with the Spaceballs thing. He shot my hair.
I will get it eventually when I get my Switch. My plan for when I get my Switch is when the new No More Heroes games comes out, and I'm just gonna walk in like a boss and just say, "Give me No More Heroes and a Switch," and then I'm gonna waddle out of there. I'll look so cool.
So 3
I'm
days
sure
after Never is when you're buying this. Right?
It's... Oh, yeah! That reminds me! That's another thing about the Devolver Digital Conference that I was angry about! Was they showed off their earliest access program, haha, funny joke, and then they cut to a feed of Suda51, and I get so freaking excited, and then he says, oh, I'm not making a game, and then I get angry. I get super angry.
We just need to call this episode the E3 show / Mitch loves Devolver.
I do like Devolver, but their conference.
And then they showed Steep because, you know, the first one was also because everyone loves snowboarding.
Oh, Steep, that existed.
Yes, it was a thing.
Oh, they showed Drive Club 2!
Yeah.
Remember Drive Club 2? Oh, and Far Cry 5. It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah.
It's just all the games that I don't care about, they all just came back in my head.
They flooded in all at once, and and not a single fuck was given on this day.
I guess let's just get to our main event. Beyond Good and Evil 2 was announced.
Yay.
I love Beyond Good and Evil. It's one of my favorite games, but because I've been such a jilted lover by Ubisoft for Beyond Good and Evil for so long that I'm so apprehensive about this that I already hate it. Apparently they haven't even started work on this game. Like, it's on day 1 of development, so hey, it's exactly the same state it was in when it was announced like half a decade ago, or however long it's been. It's a prequel, you make your own character, it's an open world game. You're already losing me, but...
Yeah.
Okay,
like,
hold on a second.
Yeah.
I did not play the original one, but isn't it like anti the original one?
Yeah, it's completely everything the original was not.
Brilliant.
It's still directed by the same guy, Marcel Ancel, and I'll trust this guy. He hasn't made a bad game, so I'll trust him.
I don't understand the creative protagonist thing. Ubisoft, do you not have the balls just to have a female protag? Do you just not have the balls for it? Trust me, you can have a female protag and sell your game.
Yeah.
Promise. Japanese games do it all the time. You can do it. I don't understand you.
Talking about,
and you can do it without fan service. It is possible.
Peach Rabbit.
Hmm.
Peach Rabbit. There's a female character for you.
Well, I mean, I just don't get the whole creative character thing, because to me, when you do that, you automatically damage your story.
I think it's an RPG-esque now. You're going to be able to choose between being a human or a hybrid, which are like the animals from Dragon Ball. Apparently there's going to be like discrimination if you choose a hybrid. I don't know, it's weird.
I mean, you can pull it off with a blank slate protagonist because Persona does it consistently, but it is very hard to do that and have a good story.
We'll see when this game comes out in another 5 years' time. So that wrapped up the Ubisoft conference, and then we got into the Sony conference.
AKA trailers.
Yes, Sony did something different this year, at least. They didn't announce games that were coming 10 years from now. They didn't get up there and babble about how their shit was the greatest.
Yes.
They just showed some games.
And fair play to a lot of the companies that had conferences earlier. They announced a lot of games that were either coming out this year or early next year, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I was really impressed by the fact that, you know, they weren't pulling Square Enix and, hey, we got this game and you might get to play it by the time you're 60.
Currently in development. Not coming soon, just currently in development. It's the Square Enix tag. So, Sony was... What started out... I think it was Days Gone, the zombie game, was first.
No, it was not. That was Uncharted.
Oh, yes, you're right. Because last year they had the God of War musical at the start, and they had the scary drum lady. So they tried to up that with like Indian sitars and key accordions.
Well, the reason I remember is I was confused at first, and I'm going like, is this a Tomb Raider thing? Oh, wait, no, I think it's Uncharted. That makes more sense. Okay, yeah, it is.
Uncharted subtitle. It was showed off last PSX. It stars... I've played Uncharted up to 2.
Research team, go.
It's the girl! You play as the girl! The sassy girl adventurer.
Yay! I mean, I've never played
that
Uncharted.
great character. It looks like the Halo 3 ODST of Uncharted games. Go nuts.
Go nuts. Looks good.
Then was Days Gone.
Days Gone looks kind of interesting to me, but then I'm looking at it and I'm going, fuck, another zombie game. So,
okay. I don't mind another zombie game so long as you do something interesting with the concept, and the mass amounts of zombies and how they move throughout the environment is interesting enough for me. As well as at the end of the trailer they showed off... Well, no, because they showed zombie wolves at the start. Zombie animals are a new concept in Western zombie games. I know they're bosses in Resident Evil and stuff. But...
Was there a zombie bear?
Yeah, zombie bear covered in
There was.
barbed wire. Year of the bear, I'm telling you. So, Monster Hunter, I thought it was going to be... okay, before the show started, they showed their typical trailer rush, where they just show short clips. And in one clip, they showed a samurai with an eye patch, and I was like, wait, is that Yakuza Ishin? Is that Yakuza Kenzin? So all throughout the conference, I was waiting, oh, they're going to announce it, they're going to do it. So when Mr. Chipmunk came out and he said, we're going to announce, here's a Japanese game, a cult Japanese game that's very close to his heart, and I was like, oh my god, it's Yakuza. And I was on the edge of my seat, and then it was Monster Hunter, and I fell off my chair, because it's a Monster Hunter that's not using PlayStation 2 graphics anymore, or character models. It looks like a big Monster Hunter game, and I'm super excited for this. Monster Hunter Worlds.
It looks interesting.
A lot of people have been angry with it because it's apparently the Western casualized version of Monster Hunter, but everything I've seen disproves that entirely.
That's probably salty Nintendo fans spreading that rumor, so they're in the hopes of people not buying it.
Yeah, I feel bad. Capcom had said they're gonna localize Monster Double Cross, which is the Switch version.
Yeah, I feel that is kind of.
I can tell some super hardcore Monster Hunter fans bought a Switch as soon as that game was announced in Japan, saying, "Oh, of course it's going to come out. All the other ones have."
On it.
The only thing that I'm apprehensive about the new Monster Hunter, everything else looks fine. Everything else looks good and brilliant, and everything's there. 14 weapon classes, monsters abound, multiplayer's there. It's no more loading, and you still have your zones. It's a bit more tactical with actually hunting the monsters and tricking them into new areas and environmental hazards. The only problems I have is that there's damage numbers now, and I don't know if you can turn them off, but the other problem I have is the best thing about Monster Hunter 4U, which was the last Monster Hunter I played, was that it had like 500 monsters in it because they were the same models from before, so it's much easier to make new monsters for it, because you can just, hey, I'll just import the Rathalos model from Monster Hunter Freedom. There we go, there's our Rathalos. But now, because everything's upscaled and new models and new textures and new meshes and new animations, I'm afraid there's going to be like, what, 50 monsters or something ridiculously small like that. And I'm sure they'll add new monsters in DLC and quests, but I don't want to pay for that. Capcom's been really good with free updates for Monster Hunter, so hopefully that's not the case.
One thing I do want to point out really fast is it kind of floored me. They mentioned Persona on stage.
Yep.
After it's been released. Good job, Sony.
I'm like, wait a second. We got a Japanese a Japanese RPG basically talked about even briefly on stage.
Mentioned.
Is Persona mainstream now at this point?
As mainstream as you can be without being Final Fantasy. Yes.
Oh, dear
we
God.
forgot to talk about Final Fantasy fishing. That's what's next.
No.
Well,
you do not call it that. It is Sega Bass Fishing, okay?
No, it's it's FFF. Triple F. Final Fantasy Fishing.
No.
In VR. Jesus Christ, Square.
It's great that Final Fantasy 15 is still in development.
Yeah.
They're still making the game.
And you know, every time I go to play my copy, it's like, oh, we got an update coming.
It's a whole new game.
I'm like, I'm like, well, no need to starting that now. We'll just wait till they're finished updating it. So I'm never going to play this game. It's never going to happen.
It's all right, Steve. Mine's still on the shelf as well.
Oh God, Square.
I only kept mine because I got it for $40 instead of the full 60.
What was next? What are next? What was after?
I know Spider-Man was what they closed.
Oh yeah, Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Again.
Yeah, it's getting a remake. It's
gonna rebuild Shadow Colossus.
Yes, they're gonna rebuild it because it was so fucked up the first time. We need to rebuild it.
Well, it kind of was. If this game runs at, if it looks good. I will say it looks impressive and good. When it was remastered for the PlayStation 3, there was a lot of pop-in on, especially when the bridge is the prime example where a lot of the struts were completely invisible. So, if everything looks good, then perfect. And if it runs good, because the PS2 one ran appallingly, so if it runs good and it looks good, this could be the definitive version of the game.
Yes.
And if they include any new Colossi that were in...
They're not. They done said there would be nothing new. I'm gonna crush your dreams right there. No.
Damn it.
They said no.
Fine. Fine. I like how... Yeah, I'll buy it. It looks good. It seems that Blue Point are probably able to get a game out faster than the original Team Ico. So we won't be waiting for this one too long. Early 2018, I think it was. Or just 2018. I was depressed when it was announced and it faded back into the crowd and no one was applauding. They all looked bored. Like, come on! This is one of the best games ever made!
No, I'm sorry. That was my reaction. I just kind of went, why? I mean, I'll say this. In the game's defense, I never played the original. I have no interest in playing the original because people have told me for friggin' ever, you have to play this. Fastest way to get me not to do something. But I go, wait a second. You just released this on PS3, and now you're friggin' spending time remaking this? Make a new goddamn game.
They did! It took them 15 years to make...
Then make another one. I'm sorry. This
Last
to me
Guardian.
is a cash grab, and I just kind of throw my hands up and go, I don't care.
Last Guardian.
It's been 6 years since Shadow of the Colossus HD.
It was still, you know what? Like I said, new friggin' game. Get your act together. Moving on.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm sure the fans of that game appreciate that, and it is considered a classic. So.
I agree with that, but to me, like I said, you just did this. That's what frustrates the hell out of me. We're never going to get new impressive crap if we keep going back and remaking the old stuff. Like I said, it took these guys 15 years to make the last friggin' previous game, and what do they do? Oh, well, we need more money, so we're going to go ahead and remake this so you can give us more money, so we spend another 15 goddamn years making the next game. No,
well,
you don't reward that kind of stuff.
Man, you hate Nintendo bad.
Oh, I do!
You hate them because it's like, look, we got Mario Kart for Wii U. Now we got Mario Kart for the Switch, and now we got...
Oh, yeah. No. Trust me. I totally agree. That is a total cash grab. I will admit, I bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because of the fact that I wanted something to play on my Switch, and at least it's fun.
Right. But, you didn't have, because they didn't have shit else. That's why you bought it.
Oh, no. I admit, they had absolutely jack crap on that. I will not defend them on that because you're absolutely correct, my good sir. They had nothing else. And I'm like, you know what? I will buy that because I have something to actually play. But really, like, even after picking up, I'm kind of playing this thing going, why did I buy this? I have no emotional attachment to this thing. So to me, it just seems like a pointless cash grab. I'd rather see this team do new things. If they are that good...
Well, no, it's Blue Point working on it.
It's Blue Point. It's not Team Ico.
It doesn't matter.
Blue Point would either be HD remastering frickin', I don't know, they'd be remastering frickin' FIFA 98 or something else. Some other game that someone came to them and said, hey, we need you to...
classic.
Well, FIFA 2000 is where it's at, bro. Whatever.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Looks awful.
Awesome.
No.
Looks good.
What?
Bad.
Great.
No.
Bad Steve! Bad Benny! Bad! No!
It reminds me of Batman. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I
hate Batman! I hate the combat in Batman. It was absolutely god-awful.
Really?
Yes! Because it was just mash the X button until one of them was about to punch you, then you press the Y button. I hate how this has become the de facto combat style for all Western games. Especially when you have someone like Spider-Man who, you know, when the combat in Spider-Man on the PlayStation 1 is more involved than this, you have problems.
I'll just say from what I saw of it, like, I understand your complaint with the Batman combat. For me, that kind of worked because I'm horrible at action games, so I could play it and I had fun with it. So there's that. But I did like the way they actually had the combos, how they actually had them use the web shooters, whatnot, and it looked neat. But I do see your point on the aspect of, yeah, it's probably going to be just like Batman in the fact that you're basically hit button, hit counter button, hit more button.
Batman combat? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we were done with Sony.
And we're doing Nintendo, which is the end of our E3.
Yes, it started with a dream, with a what's opened that conference?
Xenoblade, where everyone is triggered by, where people on GAF apparently are triggered by Homer's breast size, the anime art style is horrible, and we're all just a bunch of fucking weebs that are going straight to hell.
I like the tits. Thumbs up.
Like
thumbs up.
They were they'll never make it to our version, but thumbs up.
Well, no, they will though, because this was shown here in English.
I know.
They'll make it. Those puppies
No.
will be fine.
It will make it to the UK.
Well,
yes, that's another thing.
Well,
Europe is localizing this.
Yeah,
Yes.
Nintendo Europe's localizing it, so that gives me a little more hope than I would normally have. But I just feel like that, especially after they had that interview with the Xenoblade creator, the Xenoblade creator yesterday over on Kotaku.
You want to talk about it? Because I skimmed that article.
Yeah, I do want to talk about it. Basically, and we covered it a little bit, but he talked about some of the changes made to Xenoblade X, with the breast slider and all that. And basically, it boils down to now that they're basically, where they're doing this, they're localizing it as they're developing it. All three teams are coordinating together at the same time to possibly work out any localization hiccups or remove any content that may not fly other places. So probably the translation of this that I take out of it is, if you're in Japan, you're screwed because they're going to censor your game to match ours because they're tired of us saying that we're censoring their shit. Mm-hmm. Is what's probably happening. But he said something here that this one quote that he said really, really, really took me back. He said, and I'm quoting this, "In terms of Xenoblade Chronicles X, there are a few different changes that were made to the game. But my personal is such that I'm not a stickler for products that I've already made. So I don't mind what the final product turns out to be, in a sense that I really don't mind it much at all, actually." So basically, I take that, and this is my personal take on that, I take that as long as the Japanese version would come out okay, that he had full say in, he's fine. He don't give a shit what they pour out over here. Doesn't care.
He probably has to say that.
I understand he probably does, but, I mean, have some self-respect. And, respect your fan base a little bit. He doesn't care how they do that, just so they can put it out over here so they can make more money to fund the next project.
Okay, at the risk of being controversial, then again, I've already done Shadow of Colossus, so I guess I'm going to get a lot of hate for this anyway. I'll say, a lot of, from what I understand for Japanese developers, they develop for Japan first. It's that mentality. It's the home country first. So what he's saying, I think the first part of that saying, as long as I can develop the game I want, then I don't care, because at least the people who I'm supposed to be looking after, the Japanese audience, is taken care of. I think internally, and like I said, I'm going to basically make an assumption here, as a creator, he probably does not want his crap fucked around with.
Well, let me read the second part of this then, before you go on.
Okay.
As a developer, I do feel it's ideal to be able to adjust content so that it's culturally acceptable, whether in the US or EU. And then he goes on to talk about the breast slider, which why Nintendo of America thought a breast slider in a teen-ready game was unacceptable is fucking beyond me. And in fact, we have 3 women on staff, Nintendo, if you're listening to this podcast, which I know you're not, because you've never listened to me anyways. We have like 3 or 4 women on staff that you offended because you basically body shamed them because they can't have an avatar that represents their breast size. So Agreed. You're saying that they're not natural because they're either smaller or bigger than what you feel like is natural.
Right.
So you had the exact opposite effect of what you were trying to fix.
No, I agree with you on that, Steve, but my point was going to be for the second half of that is the fact that it's basically, it feels like a company line to me that I have to agree with this, because I don't know, as a creator, I would probably say that would piss me the hell off, but what can you do? I will say this, my biggest problem when that whole thing went down is a lot of people laid a lot of the blame at the development team, the Japanese development team's feet, and as far as I'm concerned, they had nothing to do with that because that was all freaking NOA.
But if he's speaking the truth here, he never even tried to fight it. He was perfectly okay with it. He didn't care what you got.
Like I said, that is definitely possible. I would hate to think that's true. That's the only reason I'm going to. I'm going to jump in defense and kind of point out the other possible side, but I don't have any evidence to back it up.
I don't know. I'm really, really just taking.
We need to rename this the Salty Podcast.
We'll move on. We'll calm down.
Okay, so looking at this because I've actually loaded up the trailer. The next thing they announced was Kirby. Kirby.
Kirby's a working title. They will add something.
Yeah. Also go ahead.
Let's just talk about the Kirby thing. Is like, you can have 4 companions now, which makes me think there's going to be 4-player co-op, which there probably most likely will be. There was a tease of the Animal Pals coming back as, like, I don't know, strikers or assists or whatever. But you also had the combination powers return from 64.
Yes, that was neat.
Yeah.
Okay, next thing they talked about was about Pokken. The interesting thing about the end of the Pokemon bit was, hey, there is a game in development for the Switch. And I just kind of went, I could have told you that already. I'm pretty sure you're working on something in the back. You just didn't want to tell us yet. So, but Pokemon for the Switch is coming. No, there's not. I mean, it's in development. They want to focus on Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. When I'm kind of not following that news just because of the fact that I mean, I loved Moon. Do not get me wrong. I loved Lily in particular. But
I hated that game. That was the worst
Really?
Pokemon game I've ever played.
Huh.
It was too
really
easy.
liked
It was too easy.
I think
you are better at that than I am, sir, because I got my ass kicked.
The problem is that normal trainers had less than 2 Pokemon, so you could pretty much bum rush everything. And I didn't like the fact that most gym battles now were just like a mini game. I got to the top of a volcano and it's like, oh, how many Azure Marowaks were there? And I was like, oh.
I think that Pokemon fans expected a little too much out of Nintendo on this. I'm going to give Nintendo a little break on this one because if they're going to develop a Pokemon for the Switch, they have to make new models for all the Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that it was a little unreasonable of the fan base to be upset that they're going to take a year or so here to make new models because they're going to have.
I'm fine with them taking a while to release this game, but don't announce it and not show me anything.
Like with Metroid?
Okay, yeah.
Moving on, then.
Okay, speaking of Metroid, my one response was literally while everyone else was cheering, I kind of threw my hands up for a different reason. Not because I'm not happy about this, but I went, what the hell took you so long to actually get your head out of your ass, Nintendo? It's taken them how long to announce this game when this is the one thing that basically every Metroid fan has wanted?
Metroid Prime 4.jpg.
What was not boring was Fire Emblem Warriors, goddammit, which is one of the games I am waiting for.
I think that was more boring than the Yoshi game.
Nah, he doesn't like Musou games, so... Mitch is not a real
I played Musou games. I got Hyrule Warriors, and then the sheer amount of content suffocated me, because there's so much to frickin' do.
Yeah,
I played one Musou game, played them all, really. I'm not interested in Fire Emblem.
Not true at all, you're full of shit.
No,
I think it would be exactly the same as Hyrule Warriors, but with a new coat of paint.
They're not, I promise you.
They actually do some good storytelling and some good character building in those games. I mean, there's a reason that I say that Hyrule Warriors is the best Zelda game. Even though it's not a Zelda game.
Well, you're wrong about that, but okay.
Samurai Warriors Spirit of Sonata was had some of the best storytelling in a game that I played this year. That is no joke. Some of the best it is rich. It's kind of historically based. It's a very emotional tale. It was amazing in every way.
But then you have to play the game.
Yeah,
and then you're running around the same map.
If it's too easy, turn it up. Turn up the difficulty. You trust me, it won't be easy no more.
And then it was Odyssey, and oh boy, did that confuse the hell out of me.
It looks great.
Oh, it does, but I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
What if Mario was never Mario, and the hat was Mario the whole time?
The hat was possessing him?
The hat just possessed this Italian plumber. At the very beginning.
It was all a dream.
I will say this, if you want to actually take a look at a hands-on, Quentin did do a hands-on, and we got it published on Tuesday night. So please go take a look at that. B goes into depth about how he felt about the game. I'm looking forward to it. I have it pre-ordered. It's a Mario game. It's going to be pretty solid. Very rarely will you go wrong with picking that one up. So I am looking forward to it. It's just that I kind of was not expecting them to do the whole hat possession thing. I was like, wait, what? But it was Mario Odyssey, and so I mean, it's going to be interesting. So I'm not at all worried about that one. It gets here, it gets here. I'll put it in, play it, and probably enjoy it. But yeah, at least that kind of came out, or at least we saw that. But that was everything for Tuesday morning, and then first thing I got to do was I had a informational meeting with Axis. I'm going to talk with them a little bit more at Anime Expo. But the main thing that I found really interesting is that they are bringing over a game they announced last year called Color Cross Malice, which is an otome visual novel. I'm just going to read this tiny synopsis I have here from Wikipedia, but Color Cross Malice is a visual novel and follows a police officer who is patrolling Shinjuku. She is attacked and a collar of poison is placed around her neck. Following this, she becomes involved with the X-Day incident, which is being investigated by 5 former police officers. The main draw to this one is it's a little racy from what they were telling me, and the fact that it has some BDSM themes. But I'll say this for myself, I review eroge for the site. That'll be not a big problem for me. But it's another otome game. I'm kind of glad Access is still sticking with localizing otome stuff, despite the fact that Hakuoki now went over to IFI. But I'll keep you posted on that one as we get to it. Saw Natsume with Quentin at noon. That was interesting. They have their new Harvest Moon coming out, which I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head right now. It actually looks a lot more graphically like the old Super Nintendo one, so it's kind of got a little bit of a
I like that
retro
aesthetic
bit
more than the games they've released lately.
Yeah, it really is kind of reminiscent of that. The main thing is that this entire place is like in just disarray and kind of chaos, and it really there's just like you remember back in the day there were boulders, trees, and just stuff everywhere, and you had to spend half the time clearing it. It's it kind of brings you back to that kind of thing where you really are focusing on kind of clearing and repairing the farm. So it looks interesting to me. I've got to go ahead and do a little more research so I can put together a hands-on for it, but should be kind of neat. They also did show Harvest Moon Little Farmers, which is more of a kid game for younger kids. There's no text in it. It's just basically kind of building motor skills, but kind of fun. They also did have 2 Kunio games there. I did pick up and play one of them really fast, which was one that I forget the name of it. It takes place with a medieval setting. It's River City. It's Kunio-kun. It's a lot of fun if you like beat 'em up. So I'd say give it a shot. After that, I went to a developer called The Dalek, which they actually do more point-and-click games. They have a game coming soon that is going to be on Steam called The Pillars of Earth, which is actually based on based off apparently a German novel that actually is one of the best-selling books in Germany. And it's literally about the building of this cathedral, which sounds boring, but then you kind of realize that there's a lot of political backstabbing and intrigue behind who gets to develop this damn thing. And so it actually looks really interesting. They also have another game called State of Mind, which takes place in a futuristic dystopia as more of a 3D adventure game. So it looked kind of neat. The main 2 draws of that day being Tuesday was Nisa and Xseed. Okay. Nisa had 3 games on the show floor. They had Danganronpa V3, they had Ys 8, and they had Cold Step Revolt. But I did get a chance to actually go hands-on with all 3 of those titles. I'll start with Cold Step. If you've ever played Fortune Street, you know exactly what you're getting into. Just add basically some monsters to it. If not, think Monopoly meets kind of like a collectible card game where you basically put monsters down on property, and when you land on it, you can either go ahead and pay a toll, or you can go ahead and have your monster fight their monster. If you win, then you go ahead and you can take over that spot. The goal is you want to eventually own enough property and collect enough gold to basically hit the goal rating for that map and clear it. It's a lot of fun. Fortune Street in general is a lot of fun to play with friends. This will have an online mode, so you can play it with other people. So that'll be neat. And then there's also a story mode. It's on 3DS.
Okay.
I'm actually going to end up putting a pre-order in for it probably. I was on the fence, but after playing it, I think it's definitely worth it. I know Ys 8 is the one that a lot of people are basically kind of worried about because of the localization stuff that had popped up before. I don't know enough about Ys to give a yay or nay on basically what's been translated as what, this, that, or the other. Gameplay-wise, it's a 3D action RPG. It's basically combat's in real time. You move around, dodge stuff, make sure you don't get hit. I had a lot of fun with it. I got lost just because of the fact that the actual areas you traverse through are pretty big, and you'll get items that'll let you go back through certain areas. Like, for example, in the demo I got, there were gloves I got that let me climb up ivy walls. So you're going to basically have to do a little bit of backtracking when you get these items to figure out where you need to go next.
I think that's typical for Ys games. I haven't played them. I have a friend who...
It's pretty well the standard affair for an Ys game.
Yeah, this is my first experience with the franchise, so for me, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of neat. I like this. So I definitely would keep an eye out for it. I believe Nisa is going to try and bring a demo of it out on the PSN. They told me they were looking into it right now, but they can't promise anything, so we'll see what kind of happens.
Did they mention anything of a PC port?
I did not ask them.
It's going to Steam. It's going to Steam.
It is going to Steam? Okay. Yeah, I didn't ask them about that. I'd have to look at the product sheet, but yeah. The one for me I was most excited to see, though, was Dangan V3, because I've just discovered that series this year, and the demo is a little bit on the short side, only because of the fact that the first half of it is to go ahead and introduce you to the characters, and then the second half, which is the class trial, which is familiar to anyone who's played the series, only went for probably around 20 to 25 minutes. But it gives you a good idea of the new features they have in that. Namely, one is you have something called a V-critical, I believe is what it's called, which is you basically not just shoot the statement that you think is false, but you have to actually go ahead and shoot it at basically a weak point if you put it in focus mode. The other one is you can actually have something called a lie bullet this time, which before you didn't have. You had no way to kind of bluff your way out of something. But you have to use it kind of sparingly because it will drain your health when you're in that mode. So you got to kind of be a little bit careful with it. The new mini games that they have in it were okay. The one in particular that I kind of liked was a kind of redone logic dive from the second game, which basically you're in this car and you basically have to run into these boxes, kind of like look at the Mario Kart item boxes, to basically fill out a question. And once that, you have to drive into a person who represents the correct answer, and then they jump in your car and you take them to basically the finish line.
Right. I haven't played Danganronpa. That made no sense, but it sounds great.
It's one of those ones that's like, if you're going, what the hell are you talking about? But it's like, when you see it, it makes sense. But Danganronpa has these kind of quirky mini games in between sections of the class trial to kind of break up the flow of things a little bit and give you something to do other than just kind of sit there and go, okay, which one of these statements is false that I need to blow away? But it's a lot of fun. I did like the demo. I like the characters. In particular, the Ultimate Inventor Miyu has quite the perverted mouth, I'll say that much. So she will be a blast to basically listen to in the when it gets released here. I did listen to the English dub as much as I could in a loud hall, and it sounded fine to me. So I had a lot of fun with it. The next thing I'll talk about real quick was Exceed Games, which will wrap up day one. The Exceed had brought 5 things to the show. I did get hands-on with all of them. I will start with Extella because I know Steve's familiar with that. Mitchell, are you familiar with Extella?
No. Let me type it up. Maybe I'll.
It's a Musou game. Of course he's not. So go
you
ahead.
mean? Oh, Fate Grand Order Extella. Yeah, I know about that.
Yes, Fate Extella.
Yes.
So this is, after playing with, and I did play one of the full stages later on in the game, this is the PS4 version on the Switch. It is not the Vita version up-res. It is not the cobbled together version of the two. It is literally the PS4 version has been ported to the Nintendo Switch. Ran perfectly fine. I was playing it in handheld mode, so I didn't have it connected to the TV, but when I was watching a couple of other ones that were connected to the TV, it seemed to run perfectly fine.
Yeah,
so,
the Switch is weird that it runs better in handheld mode anyway.
Right. And so that was one of the things when I was watching it, I did kind of look. The only thing they told me they've noticed is that when the game is first loading the stage, there may be a little bit of a dip in the frame rate, but otherwise it's pretty much solid 60 frames per second. So it's Fate Excel. If you haven't played it yet, I recommend picking it up. Steve, you played Excel on the PS4, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Next up, was Shantae. All they had there actually was the DLC that's going to be coming, which is when you play as Risky Boots. I've actually never played any of the games before, so this is my first time, and it really felt like a Mega Man game. So I was right at home with this. It's going to be kind of for me a fun write-up. But basically, jump, use pirate sword to beat up enemies. You have a gun to shoot. You have a grappling hook, which you can use to go ahead and grapple on the things. There was a giant freaking mermaid I had to fight, which was just a blast. So I had fun. Steve, I think you played Half Genie Hero, didn't you?
I played the one before that, but
okay.
I kind of know how Shantae works. It's a very retro styled platformer, kind of a little bit of a Metroidvania in a way. Certain aspects of it. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, this was just the DLC, so it's going to be an add-on to. If you already have the game, then this will just be the DLC add-on to it. If not, then I think the Switch version is that out yet? I forget.
I don't think so. I don't know for sure. I don't think so though.
If not, I'll say this: if a Switch, you're looking for a really good platforming game to pick up, I'd say give it a shot. The game looks beautiful, by the way, so definitely give it a shot. Zwei was another game they had there. This is another Falcom game. So while they didn't get Ys, they did get another Falcom title. This one is PC only. There is controller support though, but the keyboard, I played the keyboard version and I didn't have any problem with it. But you're basically kind of traversing these dungeons with two different characters, and there's some puzzle solving to be done. It's a little more combat focused. The interesting thing about it though is that you don't gain experience by beating enemies. You gain experience by eating food.
Do you kill enemies and then get them as like food ingredients and then cook them?
Yeah, kind of like that. But here's the thing: you don't want to start basically scarfing down stuff in the dungeon. If you actually take 10 of a particular item back to the main shop, you can turn that in for an item that will give you exponentially more experience. So it's interesting. You kind of decide, okay, do I want to try? Do I eat a bunch of stuff and heal now and maybe level, or do I try and hold on to as much as I can and be a little more risky so I get back and then just power level my way up a little bit faster? But it seems interesting. I gotta look at my notes on that one a little bit more, but I enjoyed it. Then they had Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, I believe is the name of the game.
Yeah, that's it.
That was fun. Long and short, it is a platformer, and you're basically playing this harvest goddess who actually basically can kick ass with hoes, sickles, and whatnot. It was cool, but the best thing is she has this scarf, and you can use the scarf to kind of like grapple onto walls or grapple into enemies and throw them into things, or even spin around them. So like I got to the boss of the demo, and literally I was using the scarf to just basically kind of quickly move behind them and back attack them a couple of times. You can knock enemies into walls and basically bounce off of spikes and damage each other or knock things into them. It handles really well. So if you like really quick action platformers, I think that'll be a lot of fun. There is also a mode where you basically have to go ahead, kind of like in Harvest Moon, where you'll grow rice because her power is based on rice. And the more you have, the more powerful you get. But that was not in the demo they had there. So it was just this action stage. But it was a lot of fun. And of course, that brings us to the final game. Steve, do you know what that is?
You got to have the Peach Beach Splash.
The Peach Beach Splash.
Yeah.
So, full disclosure, I suck at shooters. I don't play them. I'm just really bad at them, and I don't find them usually fun. So I went into this one as blind as I could because I didn't want preconceptions, and I'm going, it's Senran. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to see how I feel about this because I really wanted another kind of versus game to have, more story and just have more fun like I did with Estebal. This, though, surprised me. One, it is definitely geared towards if you're not familiar with third-person shooters at all, the game has many ways to assist you. One is there is an auto-aiming mode, so you just basically hit a button, you'll be an auto-aim, and you'll have this larger box that takes up probably about a good center of the screen, I'm going to say. And anything in that box, you'll automatically start targeting. There is a manual mode, so if you're used to actually being really good at shooters, you can just switch that and basically just manually aim where you want. There also is a lock-on button, which does help. I think it's like L2, and so you can use that if you really want to go ahead and lock onto a particular enemy. Make it a little bit easier, but...
Or if you want to play with one hand.
You can, yeah. I will say, you need to switch hands, though, because if you do knock out an enemy, you can actually hit the square button to summon the rubber ducky of doom, as I'm going to call it, and start spraying the
rubber
hell
ducky
out of
from, what was that French animated show? You know the one, the smug duck. That one.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, you summon this rubber ducky and start spraying down the girl you defeated as basically mashing the R2 button as fast as you can while using the right controller stick to go ahead and basically kind of move the camera up and down, whatnot. And you can basically either, essentially soak her enough that her panties fall off or her top falls off, whatnot, etc. So it's still classic Senran Kagura. One of the really cool things that I found out about this, because I talked to Takaki-san while I was at the show, is that this actually still works in multiplayer mode. Here's how they did it. They realized
people thought teabagging was embarrassing.
Oh, well, here's the thing, because it's kind of technically a cutscene. If you interrupted everyone's gameplay, that wouldn't work. So what they do is, when you're in multiplayer mode, when you activate this, there's a tent that goes over basically your two characters, and everyone else just sees this tent shaking. They don't know what's going on in there, but meanwhile, you and the other person are basically in this are in that mini game, so they're kind of seeing what's happening to them. I'm like, that is really cool. You were able to go ahead and preserve that, without really kind of losing anything in the multiplayer mode.
That's great.
So
you sold me on it.
Yeah, that was really kind of neat. There were two modes we could play. One was a little bit of the story. I skipped all the story just because of the fact I didn't want to spoil myself. But I did play the mode, and it's basically, if you're used to the other games, you'll run around and basically beat up a bunch of grunts and whatnot to clear each stage. The other one was the V-Road Challenge, I believe, which is more of the 5-on-5 stuff. But you're playing in single player, and it's basically your squad of 5 girls versus the other squad of 5 girls. One of the other cool things...
Is that restrained to each school, so you can't mix and match schools, or is... in multiplayer, is anyone allowed to pick whatever character they want, or do they have to specifically
In multiplayer, I'm pretty sure you can pick whoever you want. Okay. And in fact, you can give each girl different weapons. So, for example, Yozakura does not need to wield a shotgun all the time. You can give her something else if you want. Each girl's deck is fully customizable. But for the V-Road Challenge, the way they had it locked down was all we could do is we could play as, was it Gessen? Yeah, we can only play as Gessen. The story mode was, we were playing as the Crimson Squad, but we can only play as Gessen, and the weapons and whatnot were locked. The loadouts were locked down, so we can edit them, but in the final game, you'll be able to do that. But the teams you'll face are random teams, or basically they're based off themes. So like one was the Little Sisters team, for example. It had a bunch of the younger characters. But it was a lot of fun. I'm still going to be absolute garbage at this game, but I will probably pick it up to at least play the story mode, and I'll probably play online with Steve at some point.
Is there no melee combat?
There is a melee button. If basically kind of like the knife button or something you'd have in other games, you basically hit triangle. If you're close enough, you'll do a melee attack. But really, it is all about these water guns.
Okay.
So... Steve, because you're a little bit more of an expert on PBS than me, probably. Any other questions you had on that, or?
No, not really. I mean, they're still. I will note that they're still working on balancing multiplayer aspects. Even currently for our release. So
Yeah, the main thing they mentioned was that they're working on weapon balancing. That seems to be kind of the big thing, and I can imagine that because the minigun is kind of insane. So is the assault rifle.
Yeah, they're working on some balancing, but they're still working on it. So
yeah,
hopefully by the time we see it, they'll have most of that ironed out.
Yeah, but I did have a lot of fun. I spent the last day, I literally went back to their booth and just basically played it for like an hour, just basically kind of just messing around with it. It was fun. So, like I said, I'm not a third-person shooter fan. I would have wished, I think, still to have another Versus game. But I'm always happy to play Senran, and for what it is, I did really enjoy it. So definitely look forward to it, I'd say. Wednesday, I got to go ahead and meet with IFI, and I got to take a look at Mary Skelter. And it was just a quick kind of just demo. They kind of just showed me what they're working on. The one thing I took away from that was really kind of interesting is that there is a combination of both. It's a DRPG, of course, but there are also these things called nightmares, which will basically chase you around the map. However, like, in a regular DRPG, Steve, if you're not moving, the enemies aren't moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nightmares move even if you're not moving.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it gets even better. There are giant nightmares that show up that will basically take up like multiple floors of the map. And so, for example, you might be on the bottom floor and you've got to basically kind of figure out a way to attack this thing's legs or whatnot, etc. While it's trying to attack you in real time. So it's like, eventually you'll go through multiple levels until you get to a point, or just survive till you get to an actual point where you can engage this thing in proper combat. So they're actually mixing in. It's not just, just because it is a kind of a DRPG, just because you're standing still don't mean you're safe. Things can get pretty crazy. After that was Bandai. And Bandai showed off 3 things, and then let us out into their press area to try a total of 5 games. I got to 4 of them. The one I didn't get to was Ace Combat. I just didn't have time.
Oh, that was the one I was interested in!
I'm sorry. I wanted to actually do it, but I had to run to another meeting.
All right.
Time. But I'll go over the 3, and then I'll go to the one that they didn't show, which I'm really puzzled about. But they showed off, in order, Ni no Kuni 2, Dragon Ball Fighters, I think is how it's pronounced. It's not Fighter Z, it's Fighters. And then Project Cars 2.
They didn't show off Code Vein?
No.
Whoa, okay.
There were only 4 things that I got to see, and the 3 of them were showed off basically in the presentation. The 4th one isn't even that. But I'll get to that in a second.
That's interesting.
So, Ni no Kuni 2, I was not a fan of the first Ni no Kuni. I did not like the combat. That has changed now. We do not have, apparently, the summon. You have to summon your familiar, whatnot, etc. Instead, you have these little things called higgledies, which will be on the map itself. And occasionally, they'll basically form a circle, and you can walk over them, hit an action button, they'll perform a specific action, such as creating a flame shield in that area, upgrading your attack or defense or whatnot. Instead, you control your character, and you fight as your character, who is a cat boy this time, who I thought was a cat girl originally.
Oh no, I have to delete those pictures now.
Ashley's gonna go insane.
I'll say that the voice acting is back, so if you like the voice acting in the first game, which I actually kind of did, that is back as well. It definitely feels like the first game, just with, to me, improved combat. I played around with it for I got about a good 20 minutes, was able to actually beat one of the bosses, which was one of the other Kingmakers. I don't remember his name, but the whole plot of this one apparently is you were the king of Ding. You're a king of Ding. Died. You're the king of Ding Dong Dell, except you get deposed, and now you have to go try and form your own kingdom. And yeah, it's Ni no Kuni. It's more. I don't want to say more of the same, but if you like the first one, I think you'll find the second one interesting.
In the trailer, they showed like this zoomed out section where you were a tiny little thing and you had lots of an army or something.
Yeah.
Can you
we did not
know
get
anything
that.
about that more?
That was not one of the things we could play.
Oh.
There are actually some kind of multiplayer stuff they added to this game too. So
What?
yeah,
Okay.
because every game needs multiplayer.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe it's like Dark Souls Ghosts or something.
No,
Maybe.
I don't know.
But that was Ni no Kuni 2. Dragon Ball Fighters it's done by Arc System Works. I'm gonna date myself here. It reminds me of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but that's because I don't play fighters, and that was like the last fighter I played except MVC 3, but it reminds me more of 2 than 3. But if you like BlazBlue, if you like Guilty Gear, this is right up your alley. The game looks fantastic. I played one round of it, got my butt kicked, and I went, okay, game plays like a fighting game. I think I can understand where this is coming from now. They did not announce any more characters. They're not talking about anything like that. They're working on balancing it right now.
How big is the character roster?
They will not say.
Okay.
They literally will not. They literally said, we are not talking about character roster, characters, nothing like that. The 6 we have are the 6 you're going to basically see, and that's it.
Alright, no 18, no buy. That's all I'm saying.
No, there's like I said, there's not. They'll announce more later. They said right now they're just focusing on balancing the thing first. So I'm going, okay, I can understand that. But that was Dragon Ball. Project Cars 2 was interesting only in the aspect if you're a racing sim fan. I think you'll really, really like this game because they do a lot of interesting, neat stuff with it, including actually having some good. The track itself, actually, with the weathering, how like on a lot of tracks it just goes from dry or wet or whatnot. They'll actually, with their weather system, will form puddles on the actual ground, and then as you basically drive over it, we'll start drying them in real time. So
only Beanie, you can tell Beanie reviews urology because only Beanie can make a racing game sound perverted. It goes from wet to dry.
It goes from wet to dry.
And it makes a puddle.
That's the wrong way around.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I have a roommate who's a big racing fan, and this is a game he would actually really love. I think so. If you like racing games, give it a shot. I think it'll be kind of interesting. But the piece de resistance at Bandai was Gundam Versus, a game which they were not talking about at all. In fact, they put it in a corner, and I don't know why. That's
like the arcade multiplayer thing, right?
Yes, but it's coming to PS4 actually.
It's 2 versus 2 this time, I think.
The mode I played was single player, and so basically you have like the other versus games, you have a partner that basically goes with you. The way the versus games work is you select your Gundam, and your Gundam has a point cost. So if you die, it's not game over as long as you have enough points in your bank to basically respawn. The better your suit, the more expensive it is. So you got to be careful. Combat's pretty simple. You boost. I might get the controls wrong here. Boost with the X. You usually have a melee attack, which you'll dash in basically on the enemy you're targeting to try and basically hit them. You have a ranged attack. You have a couple supports you can call in. You do usually have some kind of super move as well. The one complaint I have, and this is me personally, they have every damn Gundam series in this game, including Crossbone Gundam. And I know you Crossbone Gundam fans are happy because that series is underrepresented as hell. But there's no damn G Gundam. I don't know how you even do that.
Are there Iron-Blooded Orphans?
Iron-Blooded Orphans is in there.
Okay.
The Thunderbolt's in there. There's even one in there I've never heard of that's actually in there. I guess it's something that's upcoming. But G Gundam is not in this. I have no idea why.
The American Gundam in there? You know what I'm talking about? What is it called? I think
You talking about Gundam Maxter, the one with basically Chimney Crockett as the pilot? I will say this, like I said, Bandai, if somehow you're listening to this podcast, please start promoting this thing, start talking about it a little bit more, because I think you've got a little bit of a gem on your hands.
I found the American Gundam series.
Did you put it in the thing?
It's called Doozy Bots.
Doozy Bots?
It's Doozy Bots.
I've never heard of that.
Wow. I didn't even know this was a thing.
Okay, after Bandai, I literally ran across the hall, and I mean I literally ran, because I had basically appointments jumping up each other, to 11-Bit Studios, which is an indie publisher. They had a game there called Moonlighter, which is, I want to highlight this because it's actually really damn fun. It's a roguelike, so basically you, of course, go into dungeons, whatnot, etc., and fight, monsters, and it's procedurally generated. But the gold thing you're trying to do is, in addition to exploring this, you're actually a shopkeeper. So you basically go ahead, and the stuff you basically get, you basically can, you want to try and get back to your shop so you can sell it. However, you have to try and figure out the prices for these things. It's actually really kind of fun to try and figure out, okay, do I sell this for 70 gold, 65 gold, whatnot, and try and figure out what exactly is the correct price for it. Combat-wise, it's more top-down like Legend of Zelda. In fact, it really reminds me of, probably, I don't know, the visual style is probably a little bit closer to, I think, Minish Cap. And in fact, you have a roll that actually you use to jump across gaps, whatnot, etc. I'm probably going to do a little bit more in-depth of an in-depth write-up in that, because I actually have a key I have, so I can take a look at it here. But that looks to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it coming out. And that was all of Wednesday.
Okay, break for a second. How much more do you got, Benny?
I think Thursday is basically just, let's see, what did I do there? The only thing I did on Thursday was go back and play the Xseed stuff, so I already covered that. And the Nisa stuff. So Thursday was just kind of walking around and clean up. So That like I said, that was E3.
That was E3
I don't.
2017.
Yeah.
The never-ending nightmare finally ended.
Oh no! It's not over for me yet. I still gotta write stuff.
It's not over yet.
And then I have AX right after this. But if you're still listening with us, hi.
Wake up!
We apologize for the length of this podcast. However, as you can imagine, E3 is kind of crazy.
I don't want to leave out any of the segments that we usually have, but we're gonna have to. But I'll keep one in. Waifu of E3.
I say that we give this to Homura from Xenoblade because why not?
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
But I had three vying for top spot. She was one of them. Also, Pirate Waifu from
another
Skull and Bones.
Another excellent choice.
And the final one was Princess Peach in a wedding outfit. Did something for me.
Oh wow! The rabbit version or the normal?
No, the one in Odyssey.
Oh, see, I thought you were going after Rabbit Peach. I was going to have to call you.
She doesn't wear trousers.
Would that make you a furry then? I mean, I don't know. We'll have to debate it out.
Rabbits are.
That's true. It's true.
I was so busy, I do not have one. I will say Senran, I don't know.
But anyway, always fun.
Yeah.
Please, if you're listening for the first time, please answer my survey so I can get a quiz show going on this podcast. It'd be really helpful if you could do that for me. And follow me on Twitter, corrupted_save. And you can follow Steve at neps_night, is that right?
Yep.
And Benny is...
At Burning Hunter.
Cool. So, thanks very much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Jamata.
From the eastern sky to the easy streets you carry on. So you go as far as you can go. Keep on, not going too far. Because I take you to a one for you. I'll make sure you find your